Today we continue our record work and Viva. The models. First model, brain. What about brain? The structure and its function. The brain consists of cerebrum, cerebellum, medulla oblongata, main part. Then we can discuss briefly for Viva. Brain lodged inside the cranium, bony cranium protected by three coverings, that is meninges. The outer tough dura mater, middle web-like arachnoid matter and inner vascular pia matter. Cerebrospinal fluid filled in between these layers. Brain consists of mainly three regions: forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain. Then functions. Cerebrum is the largest part, divided into two hemispheres. It is highly convoluted with ridges and grooves. The outer region, means cortex, contain cell bodies of neuron. Neurons are the basic cell part of brain. The outer region, cortex, contains cell bodies of neuron. We already discussed the structure of neuron in our channel. So it is greyish in color. The cortex is greyish in color. The inner region of brain composed of whitish axon fibers of neuron, so that look white matter. Corpus callosum is a sheet of crisscross nerves fibers connecting two hemispheres. Left side of cerebrum control right side of the body and vice versa. Again, the cerebrum is the largest part, divided into two hemispheres, left and right. It is highly convoluted with ridges and grooves. The outer region, cortex, contain cell bodies of neuron. So it is greyish in color. That means grey matter. The inner region of brain composed of whitish axon, that is white matter. Corpus callosum is a sheet of crisscross nerve fibers connecting two hemispheres, left and right hemispheres. Left side of cerebrum control right side of the body and vice versa. Functions of cerebrum: control voluntary muscular activities, receive and process information from sense organs like eye, ear, etc. Carries out mental activities like thinking, reasoning, planning, memorizing, etc. Next, the function of diencephalon. Diencephalon, part of forebrain, lying below cerebrum. Diencephalon is a part of forebrain lying below cerebrum. Consists of two parts, thalamus and hypothalamus. Diencephalon with two parts, thalamus and hypothalamus. It lying below the forebrain. Thalamus located center below of cerebrum. It is the relay center. The thalamus is the relay center for sensory impulses. Thalamus is a relay center for sensory impulses, example pain and pleasure, etc. Then the next second part of diencephalon is hypothalamus, located below thalamus. Controls motivated behaviors like eating, drinking and sex. It is the regulation center of body temperature and body fluids. The diencephalon located below cerebrum, consisting of two parts, thalamus and hypothalamus. The thalamus center below the cerebrum. It is a relay center for sensory impulses, example pain, pressure. Hypothalamus located below thalamus control motivational activities or behaviors such as eating, drinking and sex. It is the hypothalamus is the regulation center of body temperature and body fluid. Then the cerebellum. This is cerebellum. Cerebellum is a small region of brain located at the base of brain. To maintain body balance and coordinate muscular activities. The function of cerebellum include body balance and coordinate muscular activities. Next part, third part, medulla oblongata. Part of brain connected to spinal cord. Function include, the function of medulla oblongata include as a center for breathing, coughing, swallowing. Control heartbeat, movement of alimentary canal and control many other involuntary functions. The last part, spinal cord. It extends from medulla oblongata. This is medulla oblongata. The spinal cord is the extension of medulla oblongata of brain. Downward almost all length of backbone. The spinal cord extends from medulla oblongata of brain downward almost all length of backbone. It is wrapped by 3 meninges. The arrangement of white matter outside and grey matter inside. It is opposite to the cerebrum. Here, in case of spinal cord, the white matter seen outside and grey matter inside, opposite to cerebrum. Function of spinal cord, carry out reflexes below the neck. Conduct sensory impulses from skin and muscle to brain. Carry out reflexes below the neck. Conduct sensory impulses from skin and muscle to brain. Conduct motor responses from brain to trunk and limbs. Conduct motor responses from brain to trunk and limbs. So we complete the Viva section associated with the model brain. Next, heart. Next model, heart, human heart. The function, circulation. Human heart. It is a muscular organ made up of cardiac muscles. It consists of 4 chambers. 2 upper chambers, that means 2 atria, and 2 lower chambers, that means 2 ventricles. Heart covered by a membrane called pericardium. Heart covered by a membrane named pericardium. The valves inside heart. There are 4 valves. The valves inside the heart. That some way it is the Viva question. Right atrioventricular valve, that means tricuspid valve, and left ventricular valve or bicuspid valve. The right part, the right atrioventricular valve, that means tricuspid valve, and the left atrioventricular valve or bicuspid valve. Then 2 semilunar valves. There are 2 semilunar valves at the origin of aorta and pulmonary artery. There are 4 valves. Right atrioventricular valve, that means tricuspid valve, and left atrioventricular valve or bicuspid valve, and two semilunar valves at the origin of aorta and pulmonary artery. Then we briefly discuss double circulation. First, the deoxygenated blood, that means the blood contain rich of carbon dioxide. Deoxygenated blood from body tissues enter into right atria through superior vena cava and inferior vena cava. We already discussed double circulation and circulatory system completely in our channel. You can use it. Now, that deoxygenated blood enter into right atria through superior and inferior vena cavas. From the right atria, deoxygenated blood enter into right ventricle through valve, that is tricuspid valve. Then the right ventricle, from the right ventricle deoxygenated blood passing to pulmonary artery to lungs for purification. From lungs, the oxygenated blood enter into left atria through two pulmonary veins. Then to left ventricle, blood passing from left atria to left ventricle through bicuspid valve, and then this oxygenated blood enter into aorta. From aorta, oxygenated blood enter into body tissues. The deoxygenated blood from body tissues enter into right atria through superior and inferior vena cava, then from right atria to right ventricle, and blood pass to pulmonary artery to lungs for purification. From lungs, oxygenated blood enter into pulmonary veins and to left atria, then left atria to aorta and to body fluid. This is double circulation. The deoxygenated blood coming from body tissues to right atria through superior and inferior vena cava, from right atria to right ventricle through tricuspid valve. Again, this blood passing to pulmonary arteries. Here the pulmonary, in case of pulmonary artery, usually the artery carries oxygenated blood, but in case of pulmonary artery it carries deoxygenated blood. That is very important. Pulmonary, in case the word related to artery and vein, it is opposite in other cases. Pulmonary artery carry deoxygenated blood to lungs, and oxygenated blood enter into left atria through pulmonary veins. Oxygenated blood enter into left atria through pulmonary veins. Usually veins contain deoxygenated blood, but in case of pulmonary it is opposite. And from the left atria to left ventricle through bicuspid valve, and oxygenated blood passing to aorta, and from the oxygenated blood from aorta distributed to body tissues. Now we detail complete and we discuss detailed the section human heart, about the section human heart. Next, eye. The specimen eye. Eye is one of the sensory organ. What about eye? The parts and its function. Eyes. Eye freely located or rotate in a bony socket. Eye freely rotate in a bony socket of the skull. In front part, the three layers are, there are three layers. Eyeball, that is outermost sclera, middle choroid and inner retina. The three layers of eyeball, that is sclera, the outermost whitish sclera, then middle layer choroid and inner retinal layer. In front of tough sclera, continued as the transparent cornea. In front of tough sclera is very tough, calcinated part. In front of tough sclera, continued as the transparent cornea. Choroid layer with dense network of blood vessels. The middle choroid layer with dense network of blood vessels. The inner side of it is dark to prevent reflection. The retina, the innermost layer retina, is the innermost sensitive layer. It contains rod cells and cone cells. The retina contains rod cells and cone cells. Rod cells sensitive to dim light. Rod cells sensitive to dim light and cone cells sensitive to bright light and colors. The rod cells of retina sensitive to dim light and cone cells sensitive to bright light and colors. Then there is two spots, yellow spot and blind spot. Yellow spot and blind spot. The yellow spot is the place of best vision. The yellow spot is the space of best vision in normal eye. Maximum number of sensory cells are seen in yellow spot. Yellow spot is the place of best vision in normal eye. Maximum number of sensory cells are seen in yellow spot. Blind spot is the point where the nerve fibers from all sensory cells of retina. Blind spot is the point where the nerve fibers of all sensory cells of retina coverage to form an optic nerve. Here absence of sensory cells. The image formed here is not perceived. The image formed in blind spot not perceived. The yellow spot is the place of best vision in normal eye. Maximum number of sensory cells, rod cells and cone cells are seen in yellow spot. The blind spot is the point where the nerve fibers from all sensory cells located in retina coverage to form optic nerve. There are absence of sensory cells in blind spot. The image formed here is not perceived. The other part of eyes, aqueous chamber and vitreous chamber. Aqueous chamber is the front part of eye containing watery fluid. Aqueous chamber is the front part of eye containing watery fluid. That means aqueous fluid. And vitreous chamber is the back part containing thick jelly-like substances, glassy substance. A thick jelly-like glassy substance that is known as vitreous humor filled here. Vitreous humor protect retina and give shape to eyeball. Vitreous humor protect retina and give shape to eyeball. Aqueous humor keep the lens moist. Aqueous humor keep the lens moist. The lens is biconvex. The lens is biconvex in shape and semi-solid. The lens is biconvex in shape and semi-solid. Lens held in position. Lens held in position by suspensory ligaments. Suspensory ligaments. Lens held in position by suspensory ligaments which attach it to ciliary body. Which attached to these ligaments, sensory ligaments attached to ciliary bodies. Iris is a part of circular curtain in front of lens. Iris is a sort of circular curtain in front of lens. It is black, brown or blue. It may be black, brown or blue. Iris is a sort of circular curtain in front of lens. It is black, brown, maybe blue. The color of eye is the color of iris. The color defined as the color of iris. Iris with two types of muscles, circular and radiating muscles. The circular muscles helps for narrowing and radiating muscles helps for dilation. Now we completely discuss the specimen eye. Next, specimen ear. Ear. What about ear? The specimen ear. The function. The ear, sense of hearing and balancing. There are two functions. That is hearing and balancing. Then now the parts of ear. The parts of ear. The outwardly projecting part called pinna. The outwardly projecting part called pinna. It direct sound waves inward. The function of pinna. It direct sound wave inside or inwards. Here is auditory canal. Sound waves travel through it to eardrum. Sound wave travels through auditory canal to eardrum. The middle ear. The middle ear, air-filled tympanic cavity. It is a air-filled tympanic cavity. The middle ear is air-filled tympanic cavity. Tympanum or eardrum. Here tympanum or eardrum. It consists the middle ear. Start with the tympanum or eardrum. Three bones, tiny bones are seen in middle ear. That is malleus. That is hammer-shaped, incus, anal-shaped and stapes. Stapes. That is strip-shaped. Malleus, incus and stapes. There are three tiny bones. Stapes is the smallest bone in our body. Then Eustachian tube. Eustachian tube. Connect tympanic cavity, middle ear, with the pharynx. Pharynx that related to the digestive system and also respiratory system. The Eustachian tube connected to the pharynx of the digestive tract. It equalizes the pressure on both sides of eardrum. The function of Eustachian tube, it equalizes or balance the pressure on both sides of eardrum. The outwardly projecting pinna and auditory canal. Then these two parts composed of outer ear. Then middle ear. Middle ear composed of eardrum. Middle ear start from eardrum or tympanum and 3 bones, minute bones, malleus, incus, stapes. Then the Eustachian tube. Eustachian tube connect tympanic cavity with the pharynx. The function equalize the pressure on both sides of eardrum. The third part, inner ear. Inner ear. We already discussed about outer ear, middle ear. Outer ear, the pinna and auditory canal. Middle ear with eardrum and 3 bones and Eustachian tube. The internal ear, third part. Internal ear with cochlea and vestibule. Cochlea and vestibule. Cochlea and vestibule are the part of inner ear or internal ear. Cochlea. First we discuss about cochlea. It is a long coiled structure. It has 2.5 turns. It has 2.5 turns. The inner cavity of cochlea is divided into 3 parallel tubes. The inner cavity of cochlea is divided into 3 parallel tubes or canals separated by membranes. 3-layered part. This canal filled with fluid called endolymph. This cochleal canal filled with fluid called endolymph. The middle canal, there are 3 parts. The middle layer, that is middle canal, possesses sensory cell for hearing. There are 3 layers in cochlea. The middle part, middle layer or middle canal possesses sensory cell for hearing. That is known as organ of Corti. Once more about cochlea. Cochlea, it is a long coiled structure. It has 2.5 turns. The inner cavity of cochlea is divided into 3 chambers or 3 parallel tubes of canals separated by membranes. This canal filled with fluid known as endolymph. The middle canal possesses sensory cells for hearing, that is known as organ of Corti. Now we discussed about vestibule. Vestibule. It concerned with physical balance of the body. The function of vestibule is physical balance, help for balancing the body. It is concerned with the physical balance of the body. It consists of 3 semicircular canals. The vestibule consists of 3 semicircular canals arranged at right angles to each other. It arranged to right angle to each other. The part joining to cochlea differentiated into the part joining to cochlea, the part of vestibule joined to cochlea, differentiated into utriculus and saccules. Here two parts that attach to cochlea means utriculus and saccules. One end of each semicircular canal is widened to form an ampulla. One end of each semicircular canal of vestibule is widened to form an ampulla which contains sensory cells. The ampulla contains sensory cells and nerve fibers. The ampulla contains sensory cells and nerve fibers form to continue into auditory nerves, and nerve fibers from them continue into auditory nerves. The vestibule, it is concerned with the physical balance of the body. It consists of three semicircular canals arranged at a right angle to each other. The part joining to cochlea. Differentiated into utriculus and saccules. One end of each semicircular canal is widened to form an ampulla which contains sensory cells. The ampulla contains sensory cells and nerve fibers. From them continue into auditory nerves. Now we complete the identifying features and Viva points completely. Next, specimen kidney. What about human kidney? What are the features of human kidney? The human excretory system comprises of pair of kidneys. The human excretory system comprises of a pair of kidneys. We draw one kidney part. The kidneys are bean-shaped organs. Kidneys are bean-shaped organs located on either side of vertebral column in the lower abdominal cavity. Kidneys are bean-shaped organs located on either side of vertebral column in lower abdominal cavity. On the concave median margin of kidney, there is a notch called hilum. Which lead into funnel-shaped renal pelvis. One of the concave median margin of kidney, there is a notch called hilum, which the hilum leads to funnel-shaped renal pelvis. The renal pelvis is surrounded by an outer layer of tissue. The renal pelvis is surrounded by an outer layer of tissue called renal cortex and inner renal medulla. The renal pelvis is surrounded by outer layer of renal cortex and inner layer of renal medulla. Kidneys filter metabolic wastes from blood and excrete them as a liquid called urine. Kidney filter metabolic wastes from blood and excrete them as a liquid called urine. The urine formed in kidney is brought to urinary bladder by two hollow muscular ureter. The basic unit of filtration is nephron. We already discussed detail about the extracurricular system of human being and the structure and function of nephron. You can utilize it. The last, muscles. 3 types of muscles. Here we draw 3 types of muscle tissues. Cardiac muscle, non-striated and striated muscle. Striated muscle, non-striated muscle and cardiac muscle. What are the difference of these 3 types of muscles? First we discuss about voluntary muscle. Voluntary muscle is also known as skeletal muscle or striated muscle. There are 3 names, that is striated muscle, voluntary muscle or skeletal muscle. This is known as striated muscle, voluntary muscle or skeletal muscle. Location: attached to the skeleton like head, limb and face. The voluntary muscle or striated or skeletal muscle attached to skeleton like, these muscles attached to skeleton like head, limb, face, etc. The shape: elongated, cylindrical, unbranched. Elongated, cylindrical, unbranched. Myofibrils are arranged in cytoplasm. Myofibrils are arranged in the cytoplasm, that there are striations are seen. There are numerous striations are seen. These muscles attached to skeleton, elongated, cylindrical and unbranched form. There are striations are seen. Sarcolemma, that is the covering. Sarcolemma. Sarco means muscle. Sarcolemma, thin and tough membrane. The covering, that is sarcolemma, is thin and tough membrane. Nucleus, multinucleated. These striated muscles are multinucleated. There are more than one nucleus are seen in each fiber. Nuclei are arranged in peripheral region. Nuclei are arranged in peripheral region. Peripheral region, not in center. Nuclei are they are multinucleated and nucleus are arranged in peripheral region. Blood supply, rich. The blood supply, the count of blood supply, that is rich blood supply. There is no intercalated disc are seen. Here we can see intercalated disc, but there is no intercalated disc are seen. Next, unstriated or involuntary muscles. Unstriated or involuntary muscle. In the walls of body organs, they are seen in walls of the unstriated or involuntary muscles are seen in body organs like stomach, intestine, etc. They are spindle in shape. They are spindle shaped. No striations are seen. Like no striations are seen. About sarcolemma, that is the covering. It is thin and no striations, and the sarcolemma is very thin layered covering. Uninucleated. Here multinucleated, but in this case they are uninucleated. The nucleus are seen centrally placed. Blood supply, poor blood supply. In intercalated disc absent. Then the third, cardiac muscle. They only seen on heart. They are seen in wall layer of heart. Cardiac muscle. They are elongated, cylindrical and branched. They are elongated, cylindrical and branched. There are striations are seen. There are striations are seen like this. Striations are seen, but there is no striation. Striations are seen. Sarcolemma, that is the covering is thin, multinucleated. Centrally placed, multinucleated condition. Blood supply rich. Intercalated disc present. Intercalated disc present. The function involuntary. Function involuntary. Here also the function is involuntary, but in case of voluntary or striated or skeletal muscle, the function is voluntary. We can contract or relax with our will, but in these two cases, functions involuntary, that control the brain and associated part, control these two parts. These two the function of these two types of muscle are controlled by brain, but in this case it is somewhat involuntary and maybe voluntary. Now we complete the specimen part of our record work and Viva.